Hey, this is Bad Creepypasta, joined by Shadow Wolf, Matt, and some beers. Today's story is called MaRIo, spelled kind of strange. I was asked to clean out my father's house after he had passed away. He was a huge gaming nerd. He even camped out for the release of the NES when he was about my age, 19. Sure you'll remember the midnight release of Nintendo Entertainment System, don't we? He had them all: Atari 2600, Atari Flashback, Magnavox Odyssey, NES, SNES, N64, Nintendo GameCube, Wii, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS, DS Lite, DSi, 3DS, Xbox 360, PlayStation 1 through 3, PSP, and a PS Vita. He might have even had the Wii U if he was alive long enough for the release. You could have said he had loads of consoles.
Yeah. Well, no Sega,
No, yeah, he had all the consoles except Sega.
Fuck Sega.
Oh, that's synergy right there. I was in my father's house, alone, cleaning out the basement. I grabbed one of the last cardboard boxes down there, and I noticed how light it was. Wondering why it was so light, I peeked inside, to find that only one NES game cartridge. It did not have a game label on it. It only had MaRIo, crudely written by my father, with a permanent marker. I became curious. Why was this game all by itself in a box? Why was the label torn off? Why was it written on? And why was MaRIo spelt so crudely? Since my father handed me down all of his games and consoles, which included his NES, I decided to take it home and figure it out for myself. I got home and set up the NES. I immediately popped the game and started it up. I immediately popped the game and started it up. And knocked it down with a glass of water. Things already seemed a little off. The game had no startup screen. It simply placed me at the start of the first level of what appeared to be the classic game that we all know and love, Super Mario Bros. Well, this game is old, I thought to myself. Maybe it's just a little glitchy. That's why it skipped the startup screen.
It's always because it's glitchy, isn't it?
Dad did buy it at its midnight release, after all.
Makes all the difference. Buy a game and miss that release.
Please Google if a midnight release of the NES ever actually happened.
Well, you remember technology from the 90s and 80s, always affected by the lunar calendar.
As I expected, the game was rather glitchy. Sometimes, when grabbing a fire flower, it would make Mario small, and stars only worked 75% of the time. Glad you had your calculator with you. As well, Toad never said the message he had for you at the end of every castle. You know, "Thank you, Mario, but our princess is in another castle." He never said anything. That was until World 7's castle. "Only one step closer to becoming one of us." This message made me chuckle a little. I assumed my father had hacked the game for laughs.
For lols.
And that's why it was so glitchy before. Things got... ... weird after that. In level 8-1, the sky was a dark red.
Sonic.exe.
And the music was a little slower than usual. It wasn't backwards though. The whole level was nothing but 5 minutes of walking. No enemies or obstacles.
Alright, we need to make a note of that.
Just the ground. Reaching the end of the level, I grabbed the flag. The ending fanfare did not play, and the fireworks sounded more like gunshots than 8-bit explosions.
He's in Detroit.
Okay, that was strange, I thought to myself. What was the point of that? Oh well, on to the next. He was a fighter pilot.
Chip, I say.
Level 8-2 was even stranger. The sky was an even darker red, and the music played even slower. This time, there were enemies. I was approached by a Koopa Trooper, and for points I jumped on him. The delightful little noise that plays when you jump on an enemy did not play this time. ... Instead, there was a squish, accompanied by the cracking of bones and a slight groan. This was weird, and sadistic. It did not seem like something my father would do. In fact, he in no way condoned anything scary in my house as I was growing up. He never allowed my older sister or myself to play any scary games or watch scary movies.
What pansy.
We did it at our friends' houses, of course, but that's besides the point. I moved and ran into a Goomba. To make sure the earlier sound was not a glitch, I jumped on it. The same sound played. I was becoming ... unsettled, to say the least. When I reached the end of the level, the same thing happened as it had at the end of the previous level. I noticed something even more weird. The spot on the screen that showed what level you were on did not display World 8-3. Instead it showed World. Sorry, it's a cold chill came over me. Followed by the symbol on the flag at the end of every level that looked like a skull. I know it's not actually a skull, but it looks like one.
Does it though?
The third level of World Skull was even stranger. The sky was a dark red, much darker than before, and the music did not even play. The enemies that I came to were already dead. Their bodies appeared twisted and mangled, like someone had beaten them to death. I reached the end. There was no flag or anything like that, just a castle. It had "Welcome MaRIo" painted on the front of it, with, I assumed to be, blood.
Way!
Reluctantly, ... I entered. The black screen that shows your status between levels showed that I had 0 lives, and I was in World D8.
Dead.
Oh, I see what they did there. Very clever.
Subtle wordplay. I was pale and trembling with fear because I'm a giant pussy. Just what
Maybe
was
if your
this
dad
game?
let you watch some, grown-up movies when you were, young.
Yeah, if your dad had let you watch Skeleton Warriors, you probably... The castle was like the first level of World Skull. There were no obstacles, enemies, or slow music. I walked straight for what seemed like at least 15 minutes.
You just turn off the fucking game.
I know,
What kind of game would that be? Ah!
I could play the better part of it. I could play the better part of this game while reading a book. Of course, this person has never read a book. But my time reached 0, but the level kept going. It felt like MaRIo was not alone. Like... ... Someone was watching his every move. My only questions were, what was MaRIo's mission in this sadistic, twisted game? What did he want to accomplish, and why?
Why is that your only question?
I had to finish the game to know. Finally, I came to the end of the level. There he stood, Bowser. His eyes were missing, and his belly appeared fleshless. I prepared to fight him, but he quickly grabbed MaRIo. He began to laugh evilly, realistically. Sounds that cannot be made on an 8-bit console. Oh, by the way, I missed out a ... there. It became clear to me this was not a hack. Bowser bit MaRIo's head off. MaRIo's body shivered and struggled as Bowser dragged him behind the battle scene. You know, where Princess Peach was supposed to be. I was expecting to see Princess Peach. Oh, who am I kidding? I was not expecting anything that would save me from this nightmare. I saw a Toad, Luigi, and Peach. However, both Luigi and Peach had toad heads on their bodies instead of their own.
Inception.
Oh, God. Bowser grabbed the Toad's head and stuck it on MaRIo. He placed him next to the others. Bowser then proceeded to rip his own head off and began to pull out his intestines. Text appeared, "Press B for a harder quest, and even you can become one of us." I threw my controller at the screen so hard the screen actually broke. Woo! I ejected the cartridge and threw it at the wall. It fell to pieces and I noticed there was a note inside. I picked it up and read it. "Dear son, you're next. Dad."
How do you fit that
Dad
in?
was a man of few words. I threw both the game and the letter in the fire that I started in my fireplace. I will never be able to get that satanic picture of my beloved characters like that out of my head. To this day, I cannot play Super Mario Brothers... ... And the other morning, I woke up to see MaRIo carved into my arm. To take my mind off these things, I began looking through all the old NES games. On top of the stack was Super Mario Bros. 2. However, well, ... however, rather, the label was different. It spelled Super MaRIo Bros. 2. The picture of Mario delightfully carrying a turnip was instead a picture of Mario with an angry toad head carrying Birdo's decapitated head instead of a turnip. After that, I decided never to play any Mario game ever again. Whatever was on this game could only be worse. Thank you for reading. I wanted somebody to know about this before ... something happened to me. Written by Supreme K4, check out the sequel, MaRIo 2. No.
Not a chance in hell.
Alright, are there any reviews? Let's find out.
Let's see.
There's only one.
And the moral of the story is, at least it's not Sonic.
Okay, there's one review, it's anonymous, and it simply reads, "I like it."
Well, I wonder why I wanted to aim anonymous.
Yeah, okay. Thoughts on this one before we move on to the next episode?
Press B for a harder quest.
See, my fault. Crappy?
Yeah.
That's crappy?
I'm just going to
A
say
lot of awkward pausing.
Yeah, I'm going to say it sucked.
I want to know what's darker. A dark red. That was darker than the other reds.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was hoping there was going to be another level where it got even darker.
This sucked, and Supreme Kai 4, just stop.